Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm actually going to bring you something a little bit different in my content. Um, the decision to talk about this today kind of stemmed from um, an ingredient that they were serving on the cruise I just came off of. So on the cruise, they have when you eat in what's called the dining room, they have rare finds is the section of the menu. And in the rare finds, they had alligator, they had frog legs, they had all sorts of things. And one of the things that was on there was escargot. And so I wanted to kind of talk about that today because in 2005, when I had my hysterectomy and I was recovering at home, I couldn't do anything for about 6 weeks. And I got hooked on the Food Network channel. And because of the fact that the Food Network channel features chefs from some everywhere, and American chefs who learn how to cook non-American cuisine. There's also Alton Brown. He does what's called food science, and he basically talks to you about not just the food itself, but he breaks down like the ingredients. He talks about the measurements. He talks about where the ingredients come from and things like that. And so Alton, his episodes, I look forward to those quite a bit because you you learn so much. He talks to you about ingredients from a perspective that I had never experienced before, and it was so fascinating to me. So back to the snails. Um, because of the fact that I was watching the Food Network channel. Oh my God, day in, day out. Sometimes I couldn't sleep, and it would just really be weird hours of the morning, hours of the night that I would be up, prop myself up in the living room in the recliner and just binge watching the Food Network channel. And during this time, I developed an affinity for learning about weird ingredients, or what we as Americans classify as weird ingredients. And so there were several episodes that came on talking about snails. And so from that point on, if I'm interested in learning how to cook something, it got to be where I would go to the Food Network channel, right? Go to the Food Network channel because they also have a website. And any episode that you've seen of whatever show you're watching, they have that information on their website. And in addition to that, they have like the full blown recipes and everything. And they also have like little video snippets where you can follow along. So if you're the type of person who loves to cook, but you need a guide, the Network channel is awesome in that way. And so um I found myself going to the website because I'm looking and I'm looking and I'm like, oh my God, I really want to know how to fix that. So when I start checking out the recipes on the website from the episodes that I watched, I saw, it gives you the ingredients and I mean the full recipe breakdown. And I did see a few for the snails, but I never developed the courage to try it. So fast forward to this cruise, I still didn't try it. Although my table mates, there were three that did try it. They really liked it. They said it was extremely delicious, and I did hear from them, but also like in watching the videos, that snails are like some of the other ingredients that you're used to using. It takes on the flavor of whatever spices and seasonings you cook it with because it otherwise it doesn't have any taste. And so the texture of it was fine, the flavor of it was fine. I just in this particular instance I didn't try it, and I really should have because this cruise was perfect opportunity to try some really unusual things. So fast forward, the most common name for edible snails that people are used to hearing is escargot. So this is where we're going to start. When you do the research and you find out what escargot is not um, the type of cooking process that you use to cook the snail. Escargot simply translates into edible snail. That's all it means. So we in America, using English language, we say edible snail. French says escargot. The Italian call it something else. Spanish call it something else. And that is the way it is in our language. Escargot does not limit the type of edible snail. It is simply calling something edible snail. Prime example. In English, we say pants. In Spanish, they're called pantalones, but they're still pants, right? So in English, we say snail. The French say escargot. And if you do your research, you'll see that the other languages call it something else, but they're all edible snails. It all means the same thing. So one would believe that the absolute only way that the French prepare their edible snails is in butter with garlic and some herbs. That's not 100% true, but the correct um the correct thought process about the escargot is that is the traditional way. The traditional French preparation for their escargot, edible snails, is in butter and garlic with herbs. But you can find that there are several recipes that use the word escargot, but they're not prepared that way. They're prepared with mushrooms, they're prepared, a lot of different ways. It's not butter, garlic, and herbs is not the only way that the French prepare their escargot. And so a lot of people think that is the absolute only way that you're going to find the French preparation of escargot. That is the most common and it is the traditional way. However, in today's society, we learn very quickly that things aren't always the same when you go different places. Because if you go to a French restaurant here in America, the preparation of the escargot, even in the garlic, butter, and herb sauce, is might taste slightly different than if you actually go to France. It's going to taste a little different. It just does. When you eat authentic food from the places that it originated from, it tastes different. Perfect example is pizza, right? So there a lot of places around the world makes pizza, but that is an Italian dish, and it's the same with lasagna and spaghetti. When you go to an authentic Italian restaurant, the food tastes richer, it tastes different. Now, moving on to the escargot, when you translate escargot into another language, it is edible snails in that language, and they even put it in paella, right? And anybody who knows what paella is, you know that is not French, but they have edible snails in paella. So it just depends on where you come from. They even make Italian dishes um with escargot, edible snails. And so I find it absolutely fascinating um to learn about how different cultures are using the edible snails. So one of the things that, like in an Italian dish, and I may be pronouncing this wrong, but it's pici paci, and that is a traditional Italian dish from Sicily, and it's the edible snails served in a pici paci sauce. Um, and I'll put like the link for these different recipes and the different ways that the snails are prepared. And this, is a red sauce and it has Looks like a bunch of spices, and it looks very delicious. They say that it includes sautéed onions, onions that are sautéed in olive oil with the snails, tomatoes, black pepper, chili pepper, parsley, basil, and salt. And in this particular dish, the escargot, or edible snails, are not cooked in butter. That is the French tradition. So you can have edible snails in different ways depending on the culture that the dish comes from. So I just wanted to bring this to you as a way of learning a little bit more about a single ingredient that is prepared different ways. And they all have different names, but the names translate into the same thing: edible snail. I hope this information helps someone. I hope that it will spark you to do a little research and find dishes that you can prepare with this ingredient. And the reason that it is important to say edible snail is because there are so many different variations or types of snails, but they're not all edible. And one of the things that you will be warned against is just eating any kind of snail, because some of them are poisonous. Some of them will just make you very sick, but they're not intended for ingestion. So in heliciculture, which is snail farming, they only harvest a certain type or certain types of snails. And they do this with care because you want to make sure, again, you don't consume something that you're not supposed to. It's the same thing with mushrooms. Although there are, hundreds, if not millions of different types of mushrooms, we all know we can't eat every type of mushroom. Some mushrooms have a medicinal effect. Some of them have, they kind of break down as a hallucinogen, so you have to be very careful about what you eat. All right. So that is it for the talk about escargot, or edible snail. And we are going, if you're not already a member of the Fetch fam, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and download that app, scan my QR code, and get to scanning those receipts. You might as well take advantage of it. You're already spending the money. The receipts translates into points, the points translates into cash, and you can redeem that cash via store card or cash card, or you can donate to charity. Well, all right, we're going to go ahead and get out of here, but we don't do so without saying, love yourself, love somebody else, and until next time, y'all take care. Bye.